Welcome to my world. Come on in and make yourselves at home. Welcome to my life. I know everything's gonna be all right. Welcome to my world. Oh, won't you come on in? Welcome to my life. It's known as the Tiger's Den. Greetings to all of my subscribers. I want to thank you for being with me for as long as you have, and the new subscribers that's coming on in. We want to say greetings and thank you for your time. This is from Toothless and the moderators. Welcome to the Tiger's Den. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us who we used to be. Everybody searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my needs. A lonely place to be. So I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I failed, if I succeed, at least I'll live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of takes you to a lonely place, find yourself in love. Greetings and welcome to the Tiger's Den. This is the voice of Cheryl, and I am Toothless Tiger. Let me come on camera so that I can greet everybody for the new year. Happy New Year, everybody, and glad we're here. I've been real busy doing a lot of things, and so I was not able to do last Wednesday, so we're going to go in full force. I want to say greetings to everybody, starting with Maria, Trinity Awareness, Sci-Fi, Izetta, Asatar, Lazybone, Carolyn, so Alicia, Izetta. It is so glad to see you all. Welcome. Thank you guys for hitting also the like button. I'm going to go off camera because I'm going to be doing a lot of reading. I will be sharing the reading out, however. But we want to get into what this is about and what we're going to be doing this year. And so let me go. There you go. As you know, that when we left off last year, we started talking about, the mortality rates of us dying in childbirth. We talked about the Black family and the institutions that affects the Black family. We've seen a lot going on for the last few days since the comedian Cat Williams went on Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharp. I want to say that is one of the best interviews I've ever seen in my life. I liked the way that Shannon handled the interview, and I certainly love the honor and integrity of Cat Williams, the comedian. Being a comedian, some may say it's true, some may say it's false, and that's their opinion because we all have one. Just like our birthmark, which is, of course, the belly button. Greetings, Regina. But it was some real significant stuff spoken in that interview. Very significant. And this is the year and the time of exposure, of information. And we need to get with the times. We've celebrated being Black and proud, and only to find out that Black has no standing in law. You're civilly dead. Black doesn't attach to a landmass or a nationality, to a people. Hey, Phyllis, welcome aboard. Then we said that we shall overcome. What are we overcoming? Our conditions are the same today as they were when we were set free back in 1865. We rarely plan, but when we do plan, we may plan for tomorrow, and we may even plan for a week, while the world is planning 100 years in advance. So even when they're not here, they have plans set in place for whomever is here, whomever can take that plan and carry it out. You know, the philosophy page, and I'm going to go to that, and I'm going to go to silent weapons, and then I'm going to go to the Moynihan report, which is what affects us today. And it started back in the 60s. But we got to go back. In order to know where you're going, you got to know where you come from. You see a lot of things on YouTube that is really disturbing in my knower. It's very disturbing. And I know that is anything you want, you can find it here. So for someone to say to me, don't nobody want to hear that slave talk, don't nobody want to hear what you have to say, don't tune in and don't listen. Because there is somebody somewhere who's looking for some answers. And especially such a time as this. Our babies are failing. Our babies are not learning. They're not being taught. Our parents, I would say our parents from the ages of 50, maybe even 60, down to when they're giving birth now at 12 and 13. We're in trouble. We're in trouble. A lot of these people have emotional, mental trauma that they're not dealing with, refuse to deal with, and I don't know how to help them. I just read to you guys just a couple of weeks ago about the system that started to tear down the Black family, which was the adoption system, and how they weaponized CPS. Where it used to be abuse is what CPS was for, but our children were being removed from the home exponentially because of neglect. That ought not be. And when we were talking about over the years, as I was learning from the different mentors that I've learned from about, sex trafficking and child trafficking, then they said those were conspiracy theories and you couldn't talk about them. And who knows, they may not even monetize this video, but at this point, who cares? They gave me a forum that I don't own, but as long as they allow my videos to show, I'm going to speak my truth, my knowledge, my wisdom. And these are my opinions. So as we put up the disclaimers and let you guys know that some things I'm using, like the readings I'm reading from, will be under the Fair Use Act. But do understand, when I speak from my knowledge, my experience. Does not make it right and does not make it wrong. But do know I understand my opinion can be wrong. So don't ever think that I think because it's my opinion or my feeling, it's absolute, because it's not. And when I talked about the 7 Hermetic principles, we learn to be in honor. We must know about the all. Some call God, Allah, whatever you choose to call it, it's yours to call. We learned about mentalism and vibration, the law of correspondence, the law of, I'm trying to keep it in order, but I can't, polarity, the law of cause and effect, the law of gender. We learned these things. And if you missed it, just go back and listen. Take your time. Take notes. Because this time is too far spent. And we're the seniors now. Those of us that's in our 50s and 60s and 70s, we're the seniors now. And a lot of us don't spend time with our little ones. And they don't know the questions to ask. We have a lot of people to celebrate family reunions. We used to have them all the time, not so much now. But family reunions, and mainly the focal point is on food and coming together. And we forget about the reminiscing part when we should be imparting family history to our children. That used to be, we were a word of mouth people, and we passed the history down. We need to get back to that. We need to get back to that. But let me get into this, because I'm not going to take too much of your time. And I always end up going too long. But what I want to do is start so that we can have a kind of roadmap of where we're going. We're going to talk about the philosophy page of the General Education Board by John T. Rockefeller and Frederick T. Gates. And that was done in 1902. We're still going by that same thing in 2024. And it was once said that we don't want a world of thinkers. We want a world of doers, meaning laborers. And then we happen to be the prize, to be the laborers. Now, I don't believe in nothing but one race, but there is a dichotomy set before us, which gives us ethnicities that we call races, that says that one is superior over the other, which I have some definitions I'll be sharing. But let's go with the philosophy page. So that we can understand how this thing came about that's still in place for us today. And y'all give me a second. I got to wipe my glasses. I had them wiped off, but I've been sitting here working, putting my little stuff together, and I guess they're a little bit, I don't know, I can't see that well, so let me just get them together. I hope everybody is doing well. I thank everybody that supports me, that have sent me cash apps. It's been absolutely beautiful. And so I think I'm going to start out with a thank you and just say thank you, because it means so much to me. Your presence, your likes. Thank you guys for hitting the likes. Means so much to me. And I know several of you are always doing something. So don't worry about it. If you can come in, come in. If you have to go, go. And come back and then just look at the replay. I'm all for it. Just to have your presence mean everything to me. And in case y'all didn't know it, my telephone broke, my iPhone 13. So Greg had to take it, and he came by and picked it up. And he's going to take it to the iPhone store. He said he was going to try to take it today, but when I heard the Cowboys was coming on, I knew that wasn't happening. So he'll take it tomorrow. And hopefully it's something simple. I dropped it, and it's not connecting to my network. So hopefully it's something simple. I don't know, but we'll see. But let me just say thank you. And after that, I will proceed to go with the program. Thank you all so very much. Here we go. I hope the mic sounds okay. Let me know if it doesn't. Okay, here we go. Philosophy founders of the General Education Board, John D. Rockefeller and Frederick T. Gates, 1902. And it reads as follows. In our dreams, we have limitless resources, and the people yield themselves with perfect docility in our molding hands. The present education conventions fade from their minds, and unhampered by tradition, we work our goodwill upon a grateful and responsive rural folk. And that's very important to know about rural folk, because there was a time, we all lived in what we call the country. And that's when we all had what we call allodial titles. We owned our land, and it was free of all encumbrances and deeds. But they started wanting us to become more civilized than civilized and moved us into the city. That's when life began to change. But let's keep going. We shall not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers or men of learning or men of science. We have not to raise up from among them authors, editors, poets, or men of letters. We shall not search for embryo great artists, painters, musicians, nor lawyers, doctors, preachers, politicians, statesmen, of whom we have an ample supply. The task we set before ourselves is very simple, as well as a very beautiful one. To train these people as we find them to a perfect ideal life just where they are. So we will organize our children and teach them to do in a perfect way the things their fathers and mothers are doing in an imperfect way, in the homes, in the shops, and on the farms. We must hear that and really understand what that means. We must. Now we're going to move on to a book I've often tried to give away whenever people request it, and not many request it, but it's fine. And I'm only going to read certain sections from Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. The general rule is that there is profit in confusion. The more confusion, the more profit. Therefore, the best approach is to create problems and then offer solutions. We see that going on every day. While we're over here looking at this, something over there is taking place that's going to affect our tomorrows. But we're so caught up in the this until we don't actually get to see the that. Let's go on. Diversion summary. Media. Keep the adult public attention diverted away from the real social issues and captivated by matters of no real importance. Schools. Keep the young public ignorant of real mathematics, real economics, real law, and real history. Entertainment. Keep the public entertainment below a sixth grade level. Work. Keep the public busy, busy, busy with no time to think. Back on the farm with the other animals. Consent, the primary victory. A silent weapon system operates upon data obtained from a docile public by legal, parentheses, but not always lawful, force. Much information is made available to silent weapon system programmers through the Internal Revenue Service. See studies in the structure of the American economy of an IRS source list. And all of that is in the book. This information consists of the enforced delivery of well organized data contained in the federal and state tax forms, collected, assembled, and submitted by slave labor provided by taxpayers and employers. The artificial womb. From the time a person leaves its mother's womb, its every effort is directed towards building, maintaining, and withdrawing into artificial wombs various sorts of substitute protective devices or shells. The objective of these artificial wombs is to provide a stable environment for both stable and unstable activity, to provide a shelter for the evolutionary process of growth and maturity, survival, to provide security for freedom, and to provide defensive protection for offensive activity. This is equally true of both the general public and the elites. However, there is a definite difference in the way each of these classes go about the solution of problems. Factor number 6, cattle. Those who will not use their brains are no better off than those who have no brains. And so this mindless school of jellyfish, father, mother, son, and daughter, become useful beasts of burden or trainers of the same. So I hope that we kind of understand where we're going, because now we're going to come up to today's times. Now we're going to come up to the Black family and the U.S. social policy, Moynihans' unintended legacy. Let me also take this moment to give honor to the late Honorable Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson. I shared with you guys that she had transitioned. What I did not know at that time is it was so very untimely and unnecessary. Even though she was 89 years young, she was in the hospital recovering from surgery. And unfortunately, the hospital, the same thing that we've been talking about, the same thing that has really got us riled up as women, as mothers, as a people. They allowed her to lie in her own feces They did not take care of her, and she contracted an infection that cost her her life. And this was the oldest individual in the House of Representatives in the U.S. Congress before she stepped down over a year ago. This is a pioneer in Texas who was an RN by trade before she stepped into the realm of politics. And she went there because of the disparity in our treatment in the medical field. And she wanted to make a difference. And like so many of our heroes and sheroes, we invent blood transfusions, heart transplants, all the different apparatuses, the pacemaker, whatever we need. But yet when it's our time to receive the same medical attention that we contributed to, it's unfortunate. But we just somebody that they don't respect. And we get no treatment that's worthy of a human being, let alone a human being with the accolades of these individuals. And so I want to pay my respect to Congresswoman Johnson's family. We've got to come together, people. We may not believe it. We may not like each other. And we certainly do a whole lot of disrespecting of one another on this app that is so very unnecessary. I have someone that I love dearly on this app, and they're going through it right now, just like I had to go through it August 21st, 2021. And everybody is coming at them. I just want to say to you, as I said to you before, you have my respect and you have my support. And I need you to know that. I have one issue that I would like to say out loud to you. No matter what the people say, Asatar Bulgarian is not a racist. He's not a racist, number one, because he doesn't have the ability to be. You know, people make up false pages and put stuff in there about all of us. They have false pages of me and they're making fun of me. They want to smell my smelly chair or my crusty drawers. I've never heard of such things, but this is what these people say and do. And we are all adult. But I'm going to speak to racism a little later, but I want to just let you guys know what racism means according to Neely Fuller. And I've shared this on numerous occasions, but I think it's very befitting such a time as this. And I know I typed those words out, but I don't see them. Here they are. When these 9 areas of your life is controlled by others, Mr. Neely Fuller, who has the compensatory code to live by, gave us the definition in its truest form, I believe. And again, the opinions and the words spoken here are mine, and I am using other people's work under the Fair Use Act. And you do with it what you like. But if you're being controlled by economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, you cannot be racist. Now, we all have a degree of prejudice that we express about a lot of different things. But I went to old Daniel Webster just to see what Daniel had to say about racism. I did it from the systemic point of view because we as a people suffer systemic racism. It's a noun. The oppression of a racial group to the advantage of another. And let me put that up. That's one thing that Esther did share with me, that when you share things, it's good to share it. We try to help each other out as much as we can. He was definitely there for me when the whole YouTube sector turned against me because of one man. And he bullied and stalked and had his cult gang members to do the same. Some of you that are now feuding right now today were a part of that cult gang. And you broke away, and I'm proud of you. But mainly you broke away like I did, not because we woke up and said, hey, you know what? This is not funny. We don't want to be a part of this. Most of us broke away because we were turned on for no reason. But nobody could believe that I was turned on for no reason. I had to do something because this person just don't do people like that. You got to do something to them. Well, now you all know that's not true. And it never was. Some of you knew it and you went along with it. But whatever the reason is, you got out of it and you're staying out, and I'm proud of you guys. You see, I came here only to uplift fallen humanity. Whosoever will, let them come. If only one, 6 or 7, I am honored. And I'm going to share this as if it is the gospel that most of you believe in Jesus Christ. Because this gospel, you're going to need to know how to live in this system. And I'm not telling you don't pray and don't believe whatever you believe, but I'm going to tell you, if you don't learn this truth, all the praying in the world ain't going to help you. You see, my teacher taught me a couple of years ago, the time is going to come when whoever you believe in is going to have to come down off of their throne, out of their seat, wherever they are, and do for you what you say you believe they do for you. Because these people here are not playing. And it's getting worse every day. Like I started this conversation a few years ago, if you mentioned human trafficking or sex trafficking, they would tell you that it's false information and you cannot do that. Now today we're listening and seeing the names that's on Epstein's list for the very same thing. Child trafficking and sex trafficking. Oh, it is real. More will be revealed. We haven't begun to see the systems that are crumbling. But let me go on. The oppression of a racial group to the advantage of another, as perpetuated by inequity within the interconnected system, such as political, economic, and social systems, especially white supremacy. Systemic racism is a machine that runs whether we pull the levers or not, and by just letting it be, we are responsible for what it produces. We have to actually dismantle the machine if we want to make change. And that is Ijeoma Oluwa. And I may be mispronouncing their name. Systemic racism is far more than a matter of racial prejudice and individual bigotry. It is a material, social, and ideological reality that is well embedded in major U.S. institutions. That's from Joe R. Fagan. I may mess up these people's names. I'm going to ask that the hearers please forgive me for mispronouncing them, and the people that the names belong to, forgive me. Arguably, the seminal civil rights issue of our time is the systemic racism permeating the criminal justice system. The Black Lives Matter movement has brought to national attention the fact that people of color are disproportionately targeted by police stops, arrests, and police violence. Leah Penniman. Our nation faces a fork in the road and a decision to either continue down the same path of systemic racism or to confront our past honestly. That's Bree Newsom. Doing away with the Senate filibuster would not, of course, mean the end of systemic racism, but it would make anti-racist policies far easier to pass than they are today. And it would help dismantle both the legacy and machinery of Jim Crow. That's David Litt. Many black homeowners have reported that their homes are being valued at far less, sometimes $500,000 less, when appraisers know that the homeowners are black. This means untold millions have disappeared from the black community. This is systemic racism at work. Torre. Systemically racist is an adjective. The film also shows how systemically racist rules like redlining continue to benefit one set of descendants while slowly destroying another. That's Odie Henderson. And then they give examples of systemic racism in a sentence. And then this says that the examples are now I know this is programmatically compiled from various online sources to illustrate current usage of the word white supremacy. Any opinions expressed in the examples do not represent those of Merriam-Webster or its editors. White supremacy is a noun. It's the belief that the white race is inherently superior to other races and that white people should have control over people of other races. The alt-right is a reactionary conservative movement. It is characterized by an embrace of fascism, white supremacy, and misogyny. That's Constance Grady. The social, economic, and political systems that collectively enable white people to maintain power over people of other races. William Kelly turned his considerable intellect and imagination to the question of what is it like to be white in this country, and what is it like for all Americans to live under the conditions of white supremacy. That was Catherine Schultz. And as I shared with you, when these 9 areas of life is controlled by others, by Mr. Neely Fuller: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. So a lot of people have said that Asatar was in somebody's chat and he put in there about calling somebody y'all like to say the N word, the word nigger, and they said that he said that with the ER, and that was not Asatar. Thank you. So Alicia was able to see that and let them know that was not Asatar. He does not have a 2.0 channel, nor does Asatar use that language. I want y'all to know I don't use nigger. As y'all know, we turned it into slang for us, or a term of endearment, and we say nigga. And he doesn't like that. He don't even like the N word, and that's what he calls it, period. Not that he cannot be capable of using the word because he's human, but I know he purposely makes it a point not to do that. Asatar does not call people animals, where you may hear me say, them gorillas, them monkeys. He doesn't do that. He doesn't refer to humans. His mind works off of logic, and it really does. And he's far from being perfect. So am I. But he's very integral and honest and trustworthy. Hi, Angelo. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. He's very trustworthy. And I trust him with my life because he fought for my life when everybody on this app in this sector was against me. He did that. And my beautiful Regina M has just told us a little bit. And I love this woman. I don't know who she is, but she's dynamite. She said, and let me put it up so you guys can see it. Daniel Webster was an American lawyer and statesman who represented New Hampshire and Massachusetts in the U.S. Congress, born 1/18/1782, died 10/24/1852. Cause of death, cirrhosis of the liver. Oh, Regina, could you kind of look that up too for Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson? And so I can put that up on the screen as well from Texas. Phyllis B tried her best to participate in the conversation, but she's pecking, and then she's got an old computer, and she messed up more words than anybody in America. But y'all, please charge it only to her mind, not her heart. She really tries. Yes, Izetta, he does. And so do you, because he gives you much credit for supporting him when he didn't even know you were supporting him. And that's what it's all about. You know, it's just like being right and doing good. You do it for the sake of right and good, not because somebody is watching. You do it because it's the right thing to do. And if you don't do that, then you're doing the wrong thing. Hi, Kelly. Thank you for stopping by. It's very important. The things I see and hear on this app is just really sickening for us to be adults. And everybody has their reasons. And I understand people's reasons. So I don't pretend to be the moral police. I can't tell people what to do, how to think, feel, how to fight, and all that. I just know I have mama and a daddy. And I know I want to reflect whoever they are to the best of my ability. And you might not like me, my mama, or my daddy, and you might talk about them like a dog. But I guarantee you this. I'm going to remain in my dignity and my self-respect at all times. And I will say something back to you. Trust me, I will. When it's necessary. Only when it's necessary. Most of you are not that important for me to get outside of who I am. Because you don't feel what I feel. And no matter what I say, you're not going to feel it. Regina M said, let me say this as far as Asatar. There is not a racist bone in his body. Period. And Regina M said that. We know that the one that I respect, that a lot of people don't like at this time, I just want you to know, ain't nothing changed about us. Not for me. But what you're saying about Asatar is totally wrong. And just like when people tried to get you to turn against me and you wouldn't do it, you used your own mind and you went with your own heart, I would ask you to do the same for Asatar. And I have to ask Asatar sometime, why are you saying and doing these things? What makes you the moral police or the right police? And Asatar gave me the perfect answer that I can't argue with. Because ever since I've known him, he said his mind think one way. And that's logic. And if it don't make sense, he got to have a reason. I don't have to have a reason for a lot of shit, but he does. But one thing he said to me, when he get up here, it may sound like he's taking up for one. But trust me, it's not. It is because of who he is. And he has to live with himself because he was very hurt and offended by what was said about your baby. And so was I. I felt that way when I hear things about everybody's children. I just think it's just so uncalled for. It is not roasting, and that's not entertainment. We say the children are our future, but we're not displaying adult behavior. Everybody's over here like they streetwalkers and pimps and sexual deviants. I mean, I've never heard so many people use, and I don't even use initials, but I'm going to say the P word and the D word like, adults over here do. And they have that right to do it how they do it. Do it till you're satisfied. But you look real stupid. And this is not entertainment. Not to a people that look like you. Now, maybe the Europeans that's here, some of them, not all, but maybe some of them love this. And maybe some of you behind these avatars that won't show your face, maybe you all are Europeans and just put the niggas against each other. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But a lot of you all, I've seen your faces and seen how you perform before the camera. And it looks real bad. Not for me. We got babies coming up behind us. And if we don't leave them something better than this stuff that's going on, I want to read to y'all how our families are being destroyed and destructed. And it goes like this. The Black family and U.S. social policy, Moynihans' unintended legacy. Now, I want y'all to know back when this stuff was taking place, sometime through his reign, the Honorable Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson sat in the same U.S. Congress fighting for us. This is by Dean E. Robinson. And I started it, but I'm going to start it over so that you all will get the whole concept of what is being said. This paper will offer a very brief intellectual history of Black family and its relation to public debates about welfare and poverty. The paper will first discuss Daniel Patrick Moynihan's infamous The Negro Family, The Case for Nation Action, 1965, and reactions to his controversial claims about the matriarchal character of low-income Black families. And believe it or not, the attack has always been on the matriarch, because in nature, it's a matriarchal system. And we are out of harmony with nature when we succumb to the patriarchal system. It's just that simple. So what the system does is it subjugates the mother, the matriarch, and then we easily give up our sons. And having done that, now the dichotomy between mother and son, man and woman, Asiatic that is, we're out of harmony, and therefore we're out of sync with one another. And instead of us trying to find our way back together, we spend most of our time trying to see who's the strongest. But I want to tell y'all now, we're not strong women, we're powerful. Our strength comes in our sons, but we're powerful. because we are the givers of life. We set the tone for everything. That's why whenever you do something, people look at you and they say, who is that child's mama? Where is their daddy? Because it reflects your creator, which is your mother. Regina said, foolish people that have no integrity, no moral compass, and will say and do anything for the delusionment of self-gratification and the cause chaos and division, for they love company, and I agree. And the reason I know that that's true, Regina, is because, I hear oftentimes that I was a poor judge of character because I was in a deranged person's chat. And I thought that I was there in the chat, not because of the stuff that they were doing to people and was saying back and forth. I thought those people were doing that to each other. So I didn't really pay attention to any of that. It's when they said funny stuff is when I thought I was in there. But people looking at me being there, and a lot of people may have even been there because I was in there. I don't know that, because at one time I had the respect of people that don't know me and still don't know me and turned on me. But I see the same thing in the people that were being attacked chats every day. And they say some of the most ungodly stuff, and then we claim we got all of this dignity and intellect and integrity and honor, and we don't want to be done like this, and we don't want to hear this, but yet we're doing it, and we support them very same people. I don't get it, and people can do what they choose. Ain't for me to say who you support. Trust me, it ain't, because I support me. And I think everyone, I thank you all that do the same. But I can't go for that. And I can't tell you how to fight, when to fight, and the pain you feel and how long you feel it. It ain't for me to do. So I'm just going to keep on trying to uplift fallen humanity. And whoever want to take the ride with me, here I go. The paper will then trace the ways Moynihan ideas, or at least related ideas, underlie conservative and liberal analysis about poverty and its connection to Black female-headed families. You see, everybody is against us, Asiatic women. We got to understand that. We are so powerful. Everybody is afraid of us. I've said this, I don't know how long. If we could lay aside our differences and come together with the knowledge and the creativity that we possess and share to the community at large, they would probably have to open up or shut down YouTube. Probably. Tangles of pathology. Daniel Patrick Moynihans, The Negro Family, the Case of National Action, put the Black family at the center of national policy debate in 1965. Moynihan prefaced his relatively short report with this shocking claim: the gap between the Negro and other groups in American society is widening. The fundamental problem in which this is most clearly the case is that of family structure. The evidence is that the Negro family in the urban ghettos is crumbling. And that reference is by Rainwater and Yancey. So they have references everywhere, and because I have this up, you can go back and look at it and get those references. I'm just going to read, because some of these names I'll be messing up some terrible. For Moynihan, crisis or deterioration of the Black family was evident from the relatively high rates of marriage dissolution, illegitimacy, and the proportion of families headed by women, roughly 25%, when Moynihan wrote the report. More evidence for Moynihan was the fact that black families were increasingly dependent on public assistance, by which he referred to the means tested aid to families with dependent children, which used to be known as AFDC. Hi, Lacola. Good to see you. Glad you're here. And Regina has put the information up. Thank you so much, Regina, on Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson. And we want to just pay our respects to her. Just celebrated her birthday, December the 3rd. She turned 89. And so she was not there when he wrote this paper, nowhere close to it. She was in Texas, in our state house. So let me correct that. Always correct your source. It'll take you far. Not your source, your story that you tell, corrected by the source. And thank you so much, Regina. I appreciate that. Okay. Let me pull this up some so I can continue reading. I tried to put it on the same side page and stuff, but that don't work good for me. Okay. AFDC was originally aid to dependent children under the 1935. The steady expansion of this welfare program, he wrote, can be taken as a measure of the steady disintegration of the Negro family structure over the past generation in the United States. Moynihan worried that slavery, urbanization, and high rates of black male unemployment transformed the black family, or more precisely, the lower income black family. Into a matriarchy. This was not good for black people, Moynihan contended, as it put them outside the conventions and norms of American life. So he's saying American life was a husband, a man, a patriarch. That's what he's saying. More importantly, this matriarchy created a tangle of pathology that propelled the cycle of poverty and deprivation among blacks in the United States. Thus, at a crossroads in the history of the civil rights movement, a moment when blacks looked to government for aggressive action against discrimination and an expanded welfare state, Moynihan argued that matriarchy was the issue of concern. You know, that old angry black girl. Moynihan was not the first to scrutinize aspects of black family life. Indeed, Moynihan's report drew heavily from the work of E. Franklin Frazier, black sociologist and pioneering scholar on the black family in the United States. Frazier devoted considerable attention to the issue of black family disorganization, a confusing and value-laden term used to describe families that diverged from the patriarchal nuclear family norms and attendant sexual mores. Frazier, 2001. Frazier even contended that this organization was related to social problems like crime and juvenile delinquency. Frazier, 1950. Yet a number of scholars have recently pointed out nowhere did Fraser argue that patterns of black family life produce deprivation independent of outside forces. Moynihan reversed cause and effect. Moynihan analysis provoked enormous controversy. Lee Rainwater and William Yancey captured many of the immediate reactions in the Moynihan Report and the Politics of Controversy, 1967. Reactions that would anticipate debates about the black family and its relation to poverty in the United States for decades to come. Moynihan's thesis was supported by some in government, most notably President Johnson. Johnson included the crisis in black family thesis in the June 4, 1965 address at Howard University. While pointing to jobs, housing, and healthcare as pressing concerns, he also suggested, echoing the report, that the breakdown of the Negro family structure was a key obstacle with respect to black progress. Unless we work to strengthen the family, all the rest, schools and playgrounds, public assistance, and private concern, will never be enough to cut completely the cycle of despair and deprivation. Rainwater and Yancey, 130. Many, though certainly not all, civil rights leaders dismissed the tangle of pathology, contention, and argued instead that black people simply needed government intervention for jobs, health care, and other social goods. Some intellectuals, like Herbert Gans, conceded the point about black pathology, but explained black culture deprivation as a result of a lack of opportunity, in which I agree. While William Rain expressed concern that Moynihan took a few pieces of census data and drew forth pretentious conclusions about the family and family structure and structural distortions in the life of the Negro American. And they have a habit of doing that. When you go back to the census back in the 1800s, early 1900s, a lot of our who we are was changed in the census. They had free range to do whatever they wanted to do. Moynihan's unintended legacy. As Steven Steinberg notes, the controversy crystallized issues, exposed conservative assumptions and racial biases that lurked behind mainstream social science, and prompted critics of the report to formulate alternative positions that challenged the prevailing wisdom about race in America. Against the views presented by Moynihan, subsequent scholarship documented the range and diversity of black family life, as well as the resilience of kinship ties in the face of persistent racial oppression. Historical and demographic studies challenged the notion that black family structure was in crisis or deteriorating by demonstrating the extent to which patterns of black family life diverged from those of whites for at least a century, and probably longer. However, while some scholars of the black family approach the topic with an eye towards understanding how trends in the economy and in public blacks now conspired against blacks, individuals, and their families. Most scholars have taken intra-family relations, organization, or structure as the matter of inquiry, and thus reproduced Moynihan's focus on black family rather than on the political and economic processes that structure inequality among blacks in the United States. Walter R. Allen edited an annotated bibliography on black. Of course, it is these processes that are most vital to low income people, black and otherwise, no matter the ultimate form their int- in, intimate attachments might take. Regina says a lot of those so-called Anglo-Saxon scholars, idiots and frauds, true that, I agree, use their propaganda, misunderstandings, and ignorance to go full throttle on their mental illness and racist behaviors towards blacks. I agree wholeheartedly. Keep giving us insight. It helps. I think your insight, Regina, is so awesome. I think, maybe sometimes y'all may get tired of me reading or whatever, but I think with the reading and then your insights, you can kind of put it together if you don't quite understand what I'm reading or if I'm stumbling too much in my reading. Okay. Of course, it is these processes that are most vital to low income people, black and otherwise, no matter the ultimate form their intimate attachments might take. In the period following the release of Moynihan's report, the black family, a female headed household, became the central representation of poverty in contemporary American society. And the reasons have more to do with politics and public perception than with reality. There were and are today far more female headed families that are white and poor. Let me read that again. I was looking for that before I came on so I could highlight that because when I worked for the Department of Health and Human Services here in Texas, Dallas, Texas to be exact, when I was in training to become an eligibility specialist, when you first open up that manual, it tells you that there are more poor white people than it is any other. But they put the focus on the black person. It's written in their books. And so they've made us the face of everything dark. You see, because we have dark and we have dark. And we're associated with the dark that people see as being evil, as opposed to just the dark of the night or the color. Regina said politics and public perceptions. They forgotten money. Well, no, they didn't forget money because there is no money because in 1933, they confiscated the money when they took the gold. And they gave us the fiat system, which we use pieces of paper, Federal Reserve notes, in exchange for money. So everything is behind the love of it, and they know exactly what they're doing. It's just that we don't. And we have to get ourselves up to snuff on what money really is, which is silver and gold. That's what money is. And I don't know if y'all recall, but they gave us a song to sing. Silver and gold, silver and gold. I'd rather have Jesus than silver and gold. Well, ain't nothing wrong with having Jesus, but if you don't have silver and gold, you don't have money because that's the money in this land. It's written in the Constitution. Their article, I don't know what it's coming down. It keeps coming down, so I'm going to read it while it's down. If it comes back up, it will. In its being benign manifestation, concern about black female headed households reflect the simple desire among social scientists to likelihood that black children will live in households headed by women. But if you lock the men up, then you know it's going to be quite a few. This number changed from roughly 20% in 1960 to 53% by mid 1990s. APSC report 1997. Children, like I say, it pops in and out when it gets ready. Children and families headed by single alone parents, especially women, are much more likely to live in poverty than those who are not. However, the fact that increasing proportions cannot be said to drive the cycle of poverty. As many have argued, rather the number of black children who live in poverty is largely a function of relative wages and government policy in terms of tax aid. The relatively high rates of child poverty in the United States reflects the simple fact that, compared to its peers nations, the federal government does less to reduce poverty among children and less to ensure that women receive adequate wages. But a number of conversations, they don't say nothing about no conversation, but a number of conservatives, it says, social scientists obscured this fundamental point. Let me go back up here. I went too far. My computer is moving stuff. So I don't know what's going on, but we just gonna keep on rolling. Charles Murray's losing ground was perhaps most important in this regard. Murray argued that the social welfare policies failed to eliminate poverty, stripped the poor of any incentive to work, and made them more dependent on public assistance. Murray was thus able to question the basis of Johnson's Great Society. Unemployment, illegitimacy, crime, and other social problems were the unintended consequences of social welfare provisions. In response to Mary's provocative thesis, critics pointed out that the Great Society did reduce poverty, especially among the elderly. They also challenged Mary's contention that poor people chose welfare over work. In retrospect, these criticisms were in vain, for in the 10th anniversary edition of Losing Ground, Murray could correctly assert that his once controversial view had become conventional wisdom. Why? By then, the political and intellectual context had shifted significantly to the right. When Moynihan offered his analysis in 1965, he did so he did so at a historical moment when the federal government was expanding its efforts to address racial and economic inequality in the United States. This included Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, the Civil Rights and Voting Rights Act of 1964 and 1965, the Open Housing Act of 1968, affirmative action, and a number of others. Murray had made his observation when the federal government was in full retreat from from these commitments. I keep messing up. It's a damn shame that a lot of my people, blacks, continue to be distracted by nonsense in this world that serve no purpose than to know our history and remain focused. It starts at home. That's so very true, Regina. It really starts at home. And sometimes you can get it at home and don't even understand the concept of what your parents are trying to teach you. And you got to have the initiative to want to know more about who you are, where you come from, and why are we so resilient, and why do we keep bouncing, and no one can defeat us as a people. Individually, they might, but as a people, it can't be done. Social science scholarship was in retreat, as well as documented by Steven Steinberg in Turning Back: The Retreat from Racial Justice in America, Thought and Policy, 1995. Steinberg shows how erstwhile supporters of racial equality, like public intellectual Nathan Glazer, would become some of the staunchest critics of affirmative action, the one policy from the civil rights era that sought equality as a result. In Poverty Knowledge, 2001, Alice O'Connor follows developments in poverty research in the United States that pushed the field away from larger, troubling questions about political, economic, and culture of late 20th century capitalism towards safer focal, that's what that word is, on the behavior and individual characteristics of the poor. Okay, that's what it is. That might be it, because, child, it is acting something terrible. But they can hate and they can flag. Who cares? It's nothing I can do about it. Yeah, they can do their thing. I'm going to do mine. And today, as you don't know who the haters are, you honestly don't. From the late 1960s on, a series of concepts were advanced to explain the persistence of poverty, culture of poverty theory, dependency, and the behaviors of an urban underclass. The black family, headed family, was at the center of many of these formulations. The use of the concept of underclass offers an example of racist, gendered imagery with respect to America's poor. Though never an empirically verifiable population, the underclass was said to represent a subset of the poor, set apart by behaviors that put them at variance with the mainstream. For example, out of wedlock childbirth, criminality, unemployment, antisocial behaviors, and welfare dependency. There never was consensus about which criteria demarcated the underclass from the other poor Americans. But at the heart of underclass imagery was the Black and Latina mother. It was, after all, the reproductive habits and drove the cycle of poverty. The feminized underclass thus deflected attention away from the political and structural dimensions of poverty towards the behavior and especially the reproductive choices of Black and Latina women having children. Ending welfare as we know it. Okay, gets interesting here. Here we go. Yeah, ass, I think you're right, because, child, it's all kind of stuff happening over here. That's those gatekeepers. The political fortunes of the Republican Party round out the context in which Maury views came to reflect conventional wisdom. By 1994, the year of the Republican Revolution, liberalism as guiding philosophy had been effectively routed. In that election year, Republicans seized control of Congress and unfurled their contract with America. The stunning success of the Republican Party in 1994 followed Clinton's failed attempt at healthcare reform and the controversy surrounding gays in the military. The Republican Revolution also reflects the importance of the religious right, a political movement that mixed evangelical Christianity to a right-wing political agenda. Among the central concerns of conservative evangelical Christians was the alleged decline of family values, indicated by rising divorce rates and greater numbers of single or lone parent households. Nowhere was the lack of values more apparent, conservatives argued, than among black families, particularly those headed by single women. The fact that black children were far more likely than white children to grow up in households headed by single parents and more likely to be dependent on public assistance provided that many that perhaps Moynihan had been right all along. Few mainstream politicians could make this point explicitly. But when then Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich wrote that no civilization can survive for long with 12-year-olds having babies, 15-year-olds killing one another, 17-year-olds dying of AIDS, and 18-year-olds getting diplomas they can't read. His readership knew exactly who he had in mind. Regina says California's asexualization acts in the 1910s and 20s led to the sterilization of 20,000 disproportionately black women, black and Mexican people who were deemed to be mentally ill. Asatar said exactly. I couldn't have said it better. Today we don't even know who the haters are. 100, 100. Yeah, as we don't. And so we're going to keep on going with what we do know. And we ain't going to worry about who they are. Because as we can see, this is the time of reveal. The truth is coming out. Whether people want to believe the truth, accept the truth, acknowledge the truth, support the truth. And I don't mind if they support my channel. I welcome the support. So do what you feel and feel what you do. But we're going to keep going with this great information. We need this information. Thank God that they retain the chats because, Regina, what you add is immeasurable, the things that you add to the chat. So I thank you again. I know you get tired of me saying this, but I can't get tired of saying it. I thank you again. Just like I thank Asatar all the time. He gets tired. He doesn't like, the acknowledgement, but he feels uncomfortable because I understand that about him, but he's really that way. Indeed, the conservative ascendancy had everything to do with race. The civil rights agenda of President Johnson began the slow but steady conversion of Southern whites to the Republican Party. Other policies of the 1960s and early 70s, affirmative action, open housing, busing, and a range of Great Society programs provoked a backlash among many Northern working-class whites who had long been part of the New Deal coalition. By the time the AFDC rolls began exploding in the late, they just have that. The conservative shift pushed the Democratic Party politics into the 1990s. Determined to avoid the defeat handed to Mondale in 1984 and Dukakis in 1988, a centrist faction within the party, the Democratic Leadership Council, decided to push the party to the right and to end the Public Association of the Democratic Party with tax and special and spend policies that contradict the interests of average families, with welfare policies that foster dependence rather than self-reliance, with softness toward predators of crime and indifference towards its victims, with ambivalence toward the assertion of American values and interests abroad, and with an adversarial stance toward mainstream moral and cultural values. A careful reading of this coded language makes the DLC's goals clear. Distance from racial minorities, especially Black Americans, who the white public identified, wrongly in parentheses, as the primary beneficiaries of the liberal policies of the 1960s. Clinton ran his campaign for election in 1992 with these ideas in mind. Once in office, Clinton offered mostly symbolic support for racial egalitarianism. And they always do things symbolically. And that's what we don't understand. This world is really, really, really ran with symbology. And if you don't understand symbolism, what we take a lot of things for literal, it is not. It's symbolic. Okay. Visible political appointments who did not have the inclination or political stature to call for a strong liberal agenda. President Clinton offered tepid support for affirmative action. He pledged to mend it, not end it, and established a presidential commission on race relations that did not do much. Other policies provided to be quite disastrous with respect to low-income blacks. In 1994, he signed crime legislation that contributed to the swelling of the nation's prisons with black and brown people. And that same year, he signed the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, which after 8 years has resulted in a net loss of more than 700,000 jobs. That was as of 2001. In 1996, Bill Clinton fulfilled his promise to end welfare as we knew it. And through the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act, the black family, or really the female-headed black family, was again central to that debate, albeit in more implicit ways. Coming 2 years after the Republicans' contract with America promised to toughen the terms of welfare provisions, the PRORA established temporary assistance to needy families, which is now called TANF. So if you get a welfare check, that's what it's called now, TANF. And that's what that acronym stands for, which limited eligibility to a maximum of 5 years and required most welfare recipients to work for their benefits. Administered by states through block grants, TANF replaced AFDC, and fundamental entitlement that had stood with modifications for 6 years. To the shock of many on the left, including then Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan, in a speech published in the New York Review of Books, the Welfare Reform Act was written to be needlessly punitive. The policy required recipients to work, but offered no guarantee of jobs or of other services like health care, child care, and assistance with transportation. States would set eligibility rules and determine the level of benefits. Moreover, the law has as a central aim at imposition of patriarchal nuclear family values on welfare mothers, clearly delineated in the language of the bill. And Regina said, imagine if they are flagging. I hope they realize that they are not flagging at Toothless Tiger. They are flagging knowledge. Imagine people trying to silence history and knowledge and effort to keep ignorant. Yeah, that's what they do. They don't understand. They don't have to get rid of the messenger. Just listen to the message. But they'd rather believe all of this false craziness that these people are saying about me. And they don't know me. None of us know each other, but the people that saying all of this crazy stuff certainly don't. But they would rather, it's called gatekeepers. They would rather keep a people dumb and stupid so that they can get all of the donations. They can get all of the accolades. They don't care about these people and what they're going through in their everyday lives. It's some people going through some real serious stuff on this app, and that's why they come here. They come here for escapism. And a lot of these people are not entertaining. They talk very sexual in the most heinous ways. It just sounds so bad. It doesn't make sense. But Regina, thank you for saying that. I'm going to put that up for a minute. And let me get a minute and take a break. I'm going to get me a swallow of water nostrils. So let me just take one little quick break. I'm almost at the point where we're going to stop because I'm almost finished with the article. And we're not quite at 2 hours, so I thank you guys very much. I was going to play this. I think we need to hear this, especially since the attack is so on us, the woman, the mother, the one who could really turn this thing around if we came together. It is so sad how we allow ignorance to keep us in our condition. And we pretend. A lot of people that told me they really, really love what I teach and this is where they want to be, but I see them in all of the bullshit. And none that used to come no more. And then they used to use the line, well, they didn't want to get struck because people, they do this, that, they do that. Okay, they see them in the same chest because trust me, just because you don't see them typing doesn't mean they're not looking. And one probably streaming or both are probably streaming me live. So, of course, I'm sure they won't stream this. It'll reach too many people. In a mother's love, you will find everything. Everything's alright. To a mother's love, you are bound. You can rest on sacred ground. In a mother's love, you are free to dream because she sees what you can be. In a mother's love, you see the sun, enough for two, but you're one. In a mother's love, you can feel when something hurts. You can heal. Yes, a mother's love is real. You grow because she knows to let you go. Yeah, mama. Mama, mama, mama. Mother's love. Mother's love. Yeah. All right. A mother's love. And a mother's love never lies. She believes that you can fly with all of her might. A mother's love. Yay, mama. All right. One moment. Did you know that mental health is a family affair? It's a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. Well, one child grows up to be somebody that just loves to learn, and another child grows up to be somebody you just love to burn. Mama loves the both of them. You see, it's in the blood. Both kids are good to mom. Blood thicker than the mud. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. Oh, a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. Nobody wants to blow. Nobody wants to be left out. You can't leave because your heart is there. But you can't stay because you've been somewhere else. You can't cry because you look broke down, but you're crying anyway because you're all broke down. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. Well, it's a family affair. Hey, hey. Okay. Power will number one provide assistance to needy families so that children may be cared for in their own homes or in the homes of relatives. Number two, in the dependence of needy parents on government benefits by promoting job preparation, work, and marriage. Number three, prevent and reduce the incidence of out of wedlock pregnancies and establish annual numerical goals for preventing and reducing the incidence of these pregnancies. And number four, encourage the formation and maintenance of two parent families. So now the government is going to get you married. HR 3734, you can look that up. In a most cynical effort to appeal to racial antipathy, antipathy, white Americans, Bill Clinton signed this legislation on August 22nd, 1996, flanked by two black women. Ironically, liberal policy researchers, chiefly David Elwood of Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government, had earlier conceived of a similar policy. Elwood's plan called for work requirements, but would have also supplemented work with policies like health care and stricter enforcement of child support payments. Elwood also called for transitional assistance in the form of job training and placement, child care, and help with transportation. These provisions were mostly lost in the policy that became law because of arbitrarily imposed budgetary constraints. Yeah, right. The fact that much of the welfare to work incentives were emerging from states as a result of the Family Support Act of 1988. And finally, Clinton's need to establish himself as a new Democrat, one that would do something about dependency and illegitimacy. Isn't that something? And he has this young man on YouTube going around right now saying that he was his illegitimate son. And he looks a lot like him, and his mother is Asiatic. Regina said, mental illness is real. Unfortunately, social media is like a magnet for a lot of people that have mental health issues. When the table turns on them, then they want to go to war. Foolishness. So very true, Regina. I would agree with that statement wholeheartedly. Analysts who evaluate TANF start with the most obvious point. TANF is not an anti-poverty program. If welfare recipients manage to pull themselves and their children above the official poverty line, that is an unintended effect of the policy. The goal of TANF is to move welfare recipients into jobs that can provide, in theory, and I underline that anyway, sufficiency. Thus, while most welfare recipients report working more than 20 hours a week, they are mostly working at jobs that pay low wages with few benefits. Further, transitional assistance in the form of health care, child care, and food stamps is not uniformly available, partly because of difficulty with utilization. As a result, the current safety net is less effective at supporting the neediest families than AFDC was. And that came from the Urban Institute. Congress will authorize PROA this year. Many politicians, including New Democrat Hillary Clinton, want welfare recipients to work more hours. Many conservative lawmakers also hope to strengthen efforts to promote family and arrest illegitimacy. The Bush administration wishes to buttress the law's goal of promoting marriage and so is seeking $300 million to help in that endeavor. Man, oh man, oh man. Indeed, so determined is President Bush to impose patriarchal nuclear family values among low income families that in May of this year, he directed the Department of Health and Human Services to give $990,000 to a program in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and another $544,000 to a program in Napa, Idaho, to provide counseling and other supportive services to parents who are interested in marrying each other. Oh, help us so, help us so, help us. Conclusion. Marriage promotion will not resolve the most pressing issues of poor individuals and their families in the United States. More generous provisions of social welfare will. Americans face greater economic hardship measured in terms of official poverty rates than their European counterparts. Compared to peer nations, the United States offers little in the way of subsidy for child care and only grants unpaid family leave, despite spending the most in the world on health care. The United States has upwards of 40 million Americans who have no health insurance. Roughly a quarter of these are children. Race, or more precisely racism, lies at the heart of this story. The Black family, or more precisely the female-headed Black family, has served as metaphor for all that is wrong with American families, a powerful symbol used to hide the flaws and limitations of social welfare provisions in the United States. Now, whether people want to believe these statistics, this research, these laws, it is up to them. I try to share to people and with people as much as I possibly can. We can talk about putting yourself up by your own bootstraps all you want to. But when you have laws made inside of laws to prevent you from being the best that you can be, and when you have all these people telling you you can make it if you try and you can do it, it's up to you. And that is true. All is mental. We learn that. We understand the all and the mental and the universe. We understand that. We also live in a world that keeps us from progressing because we have laws inside of laws that are legal but not always lawful. And we heard that at the beginning of this paper. So the notes, number one, was AFDC was originally aid to dependent children under the 1935 Social Security Act. Number two, Walter R. Allen edited an annotated bibliography on Black American families in 1986. Most 28.3% concerned family relationships and dynamics. The second most frequent themes were trends and change in marriage and family, 12.6%, and organizations and services to families. That's in Allen. Number three, Republican politicians appeal to race implicitly with great success. Mendelberg argues that conservatives do so to mobilize whites' resentment in ways that simultaneously endorsed norms of equality. Mendelberg's theory of racial appeals suggests, in fact, that white voters respond better to implicit rather than explicit uses of race. Number 4, by the time the AFDC rolls began exploding in the late 1960s, the proportion of eligible black families enrolled in the program was far higher than that of white families. Martin Gillens finds that attitudes towards blacks are central to explaining white opposition to a variety of social programs, especially means tested ones. Number 5, in a speech published in the New York Review of Books in January 1996, Moynihan warned that the law would endanger the well-being of the poorest children in the name of a series of untested theories about how people may respond to some new incentives. So there you have it, y'all. The black family and the U.S. social policy that affects our lives right now today in 2024. Regina says, until they realize that they created the problems, issues, and continue to do so by continuing to use a race of people as guinea pigs and to sustain oppression, it's the cycle of continuation. And that is so very true. So we have to ask ourselves as parents, as individuals, what are we going to do? We can't save the world. And I think one of the biggest problems that we have, especially those of us with big hearts, wanting to educate everybody and just let them know, because we were not taught civics, politics, and law and history correctly. So you put it out there so people can grasp it. And I put it out here in the way of just a regular little old girl from the ghetto. I'm not affiliated with any sects. I'm not claiming any religions. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just sharing with you what I've learned on my journey, wanting to know who we were before we were called slaves. You can take it and do whatever you choose to do with it. And if you choose nothing, that's okay too. It is your choice. This is a place where you can choose to remain ignorant. You can choose to remain in bondage. You can choose to remain in servitude. It is your choice. But I am offering you an opportunity. The things that we didn't even know existed, like this report and the reports that I've read before, the different laws that affect us, that we had no clue. Some of them only pertain to us. We have got to do better as a people. And everybody can have their fun. They can do what they want to do. I have no problem with that. And nobody cares about my opinion on that. That's fine. That's good. Because I have none. But I want to leave you with this. When we come back again, we'll talk about the different ideologies and the different systems. And we'll have some more information about the mortality rates that's affecting us. We got to get serious. And we got to teach our babies. We may not be able to save the world, but if we could help our own, and that's what I grapple with. I maybe grapple. I messed up so many words. I don't even know real words anymore. And I'm a connoisseur of words. Whatever it is, I think it's grapple. How do you help your own when your own won't listen or won't be honest with you? You can't until they're ready. And then you have these people here on this app delving into your business as deep as they can get, putting out everything they can, laughing as if it's funny. It's not. And it's very painful When the very thing that you participated in and laughed at that happened to me start happening to you. The good thing for me is I don't have all this stuff to uncover that these people is uncovering. I don't have all that in my background. Yet I have a background. Not in crime, in love, in codependency, and wanting to see us be better as a family, as a people. So I want to thank you guys for staying with me. As always, I appreciate you. I hope you learned something, and if you didn't, you get an opportunity. Just try to go back and, I don't know. I have YouTube Premium, so I don't get commercials. So, I appreciate if you look at them, if you don't, if they put them on there, if they don't. I would really like for you to just get a pen and a paper and try to write some of this stuff down and start looking it up for yourself. I find when you start understanding and comprehending for yourself, it gives you the incentive to want to know more. And it'll make you look. Thank you, Estatar. I appreciate you. You know how I am with words and how I feel about how they're pronounced. Regina said we can only continue to try to pass along knowledge, try to teach with understanding, learn to let go and move along to those that are willing to listen, those that want to uplift, not tear down. That I couldn't have said it better, Regina. And on that note, we will end and leave the Tiger's Den on my favorite. The children really are our future. And we want to give them everything that we have to give. And that's all we can do. And that's what I'm committed to do. That's what I'm willing to do. And I hope to see you guys again on Wednesday as we continue this journey together. If anybody have any ideas or anything, if they want to run them past me, that's fine. Do know that my phone is down, so I cannot check my IG or nothing like that. Those of you who know have my other number. It's an Android, and it's a real little simple one. It's not a government phone. It's just a little cheap one I bought from Walmart. But it works nonetheless. I can talk on it, and I can receive text. But I want to thank everybody for staying with me, and I appreciate you. And as you all know, I'm getting ready to leave the Tiger's Den. Have a beautiful evening, everybody, and the rest of your week until we meet again. Goodbye. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us who we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my needs. A lonely place to be. So I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I failed, if I succeed, at least I'll live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of takes you to a lonely place, find yourself in love. Justice for CJ, a son, brother, father, uncle. Up drove the hearse Cadillac. A crowd of people gathered round, all dressed in black. And as they removed his body from the car, such pain she never knew had filled her heart. It happened on an early Saturday morning when the noise from the phone really disturbed her. She wasn't too sure at first just what the caller meant when they informed her that there had been an incident. Why, oh why, the sound of a mother's cry as she gathered herself and wiped the tears from her eyes. Somebody asked who was the next of kin. But oh Lord, it was the beginning of her end. March 17th, 2018. CJ will forever be 22 years young. Justice for CJ.